Everything you've been told about money is a lie. Because let me tell you, women, we are not taught about finances. And given the support and the education and everything that we need to know about finances in the same way that men are, because society doesn't look at women like we're supposed to make money. But guess what? I will not subscribe to that belief because money is power. Money is very important. Wow, we have a lot to get into today, but let me just start off by saying that money is not a bad thing. A lot of people might look at money and think that it is this devilish, terrible thing to want because why are you not grateful for what you already have? Why do you need more money? Why are you so greedy? But none of that is true. Money just makes people more of what they already are. There is obviously a certain cap where it's like, okay, you don't need more money. You have $500 billion. Like, why? What do you possibly need more money for? But majority of us, that is not the case. Majority of us do not have $500 billion. Money is energy, whether you're a spiritual person or not. Money loves when you love it. When you give money lots of attention and you look at it with lots of love and you look at it with this positive outlook, it's going to be more attracted to you. And that might go over some people's heads if they're not really in the spiritual realm, but I'm telling you, it's true. When you say like, oh, I love money, money's attracted to me, I deserve more money, I know more money is coming to me, watch what happens when you say that. I'm telling you, you're gonna see. It's gonna flow to you. When you have a negative relationship with something or a negative mindset about something, why would it want to come to you? Like, if anybody has this negative outlook of me, if they're like, oh, you're not a good person or whatever, I would not want to be around them more or give more of my time and energy to them or more of my resources to them. So money is the same thing. By the way, disclaimer, I am in no way like a financial advisor or like a financial professional. I just want to share. I've been researching for years about how to build more money, and I just want to share what I've learned from books and from watching financial pros and just all the knowledge that I've learned about money over the years. I just want to share it with you. We need to talk about some terms here. Once again, this is going to be a very organized podcast. We're going to talk about a few definitions that are very important when it comes to obtaining wealth. We're going to talk about a lot of tips on how you can get more money. First of all, let's talk about investing. Now, an investment is basically when you put money into something and then you get a return on it. So you could say that personal training is an investment. I personally think that it is because you get something out of it. You get education, you get better health, you get so many things from it. You get learning the proper form of exercises and avoiding injuries. So that would be an example of an investment. Something that would not be an example of an investment is like spending your money on McDonald's and you don't really get much out of that. I mean, yes, you get nourishment, but you'd be better off spending your money on a healthy chicken salad or something like that because McDonald's, you're not really going to get nourishment or nutrients from that food. You're just going to get like a stomach ache and acne and a bunch of bad things from that. So that's not really what I would consider an investment, right? I don't know if that's the best example because, hey, if that's all you have to eat and you need some nourishment and you need some food in your body, you need some fuel, then it is better than nothing. But I think you get what I'm trying to say, right? So basically, if you're spending money on something and you don't get absolutely anything back from it, it's not an investment. If you do get something back, then it is. It's like the stock market. If you put a little bit of money in or a lot of money in, eventually it compounds over time and you get more money than when you started. So that's another example of an investment. Let's talk about assets versus liabilities. So an asset is something that you own that increases in value. Some examples of an asset would be, ironically, money, real estate, a home. Homes increase in value. These are examples of assets because when you buy them, eventually you can either sell them later and get more than what you originally paid for them, or basically, like I said, they just go up in value. So assets are really, really good for building wealth because obviously if you buy something and then later it's worth more money and you can sell it, then you profit off of that. So assets are mostly like things that you can profit off of. Liabilities would include anything that basically drains your money. Examples would be credit card debts, student loans, mortgages, loans, or any other type of money that you owe. For example, a car could be a liability if you have to keep paying on it, especially if it's a car that like you've took out a loan and there's interest on that loan, because interest makes things way more expensive than what you originally paid for them. Like let's say for example, you have a credit card with 5% interest rate and you have $20 that you owe, that you spent on that credit card, you have to pay off. And let's say you don't pay it off for like 3 months. Well, you do the math, 20 times 5% times every month that you didn't pay it. It's not $20 anymore. It's way more than what you would have started with. So that's basically what a liability is. Liabilities, we don't want. We do not want debt. We do not want anything that puts us into debt. We don't want to owe money on anything. So think of liabilities as your arch enemy. I'm just kidding. I feel like most people have a liability, at least one, but yeah, they're not the best to accrue. Let's talk about budgeting, because budgeting is an amazing tool for keeping track of your finances. If you don't do a monthly budget, you might want to start, because it's really, really helpful for just keeping track of what you're spending money on and how much you're making. And it's really good for organizing your finances. So one really helpful thing that you can do with budgeting is reducing what's called variable expenses. Your monthly spending can be broken up into two categories: fixed expenses and variable expenses. The fixed expenses are the things that are the same every month, like your rent, your loan payments, your insurance, things like that, that are very predictable and they're not going to change. But your variable expenses are things that do change from month to month, like food, shopping, or any sort of entertainment that you spend money on. Therefore, variable expenses are a lot easier to reduce. It's kind of hard to reduce the price of your rent, right? Like you can't really argue with your landlord and be like, dude, bring my freaking rent down. This is costing me like an arm and a leg to live here. And your landlord's probably gonna look at you and laugh. So it's much easier to be able to reduce things such as, how often are you door dashing? Girl, be honest with me. How often are you door dashing? It's okay. We're not judging you. I used to DoorDash a lot until I realized I was spending like $200 on DoorDash a month. That's way too much. I could easily be spending $0 on DoorDash by just deleting the app. So it's things like that that you can control how much you spend on it. And especially when you take a look and you write it all down, you have an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't even have to be an Excel, but Excel is nice for budgeting. You can see like, oh my God, I spent this much money on this last month. Okay, this month I'm not going to do that. This month I'm only going to spend this much on that thing. When you cut back on things that are unnecessary for you to be spending money on, that is also a really good way to build wealth. Next, let's talk about multiple streams of income. This is the key. This is like everything that you need in order to build wealth, especially passive income. If you only have one source of income, it's likely that that's just going to be capped. There's not really much room to make more than what you already make. But if you have multiple sources, you can start making more and more money over time. So let's say for me, I have multiple sources of income. YouTube is a source, TikTok is a source. I do pet sitting, I do personal training, I do a lot. And all of these things, they're not the same every month, but I have somewhat control over how much I can make with each of these sources. Because let's take YouTube, for example. The more my YouTube channel grows, the more money I can make off of ads on my YouTube. So when you spread out your sources of income like that, and you have multiple different sources, before you know it, you're going to be like, oh my God, where did all this money come from? This is great. So I highly recommend having multiple sources. Having side hustles really help. Girl, for me, I'm a hustler. So if somebody tells me about a way to make money and it aligns with me morally, I'm doing it. Like I'm there. So I would say yes to as many opportunities as possible when it comes to making money, and it's a reasonable price. Like, I mean, obviously don't take a gig that's like, we're gonna pay you $5 an hour. No, but you know what I'm saying. If there's a gig and it's actually worth it, say yes. Just keep saying yes to opportunities. Also, passive income is basically, YouTube is a form of passive income. It's not the easiest form of passive income, but if I make 100 videos and then they're making money while I sleep, it's like it's passive because I'm not actively working and it's still making money for me. And that's another great way to build wealth. That's how people make so much money in real estates, because like say for Airbnb, you don't really have to do much to make money. If people are just renting your Airbnb, then it's passive income. Like you're not really working. You're not like physically there working, making an hourly wage. You're just making a sum of money. So yeah, passive income, I would highly recommend trying to get sources of passive income. That's the best, but it's not as easy as it sounds, trust me. But hey, that's okay because you can do hard things. Let's talk about some tips and ways that you can get rich, bitch. Open up a savings account, especially a high yield savings account, because it's kind of like what I was saying. You know how I said with a credit card, if something has like a 5% interest, then that gets you more and more in debt because the money increases that you owe. Well, with this is kind of like the opposite. There is some interest, especially if it's like a high yield savings. For example, some high yield savings account can be like 4% interest rate versus a non-high yield savings account. It could be like 0.1% interest. Like you're literally getting like 2 pennies every month for having your money in there. Girl, that's just collecting dust. Move it to a savings account. And even though it doesn't seem like much money at first, maybe, depending on how much you put in there at first, it can build up over time. Like even if you make 20 extra dollars a month, you just got 20 extra dollars for doing nothing, for literally just having your money in a savings account. So definitely open one of those up. It's pretty easy and it's just like basically passive income. Try to cut back on your bills. I know I said earlier this isn't the easiest thing because sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. But for example, I was paying for the longest time for Wi-Fi and cable, and I never use cable. So I called my provider and I was like, dude, I never use this freaking cable. Please cancel it. And they did. And now I'm saving like 60 extra dollars every month from doing that. And it's a little bit of effort, yeah, but it's worth it to just save that extra money because like it might seem like okay, it's only $60, but multiply 60 times 12. Like that's how much you're saving a year when you do this. When it comes to opportunities, negotiate and don't be afraid to ask for more. Oh my God, this is such a big lesson that I had to learn, especially when it comes to doing brand deals as like an influencer. Sometimes these brands will try to lowball you, and that's not just for influencers. That can happen to so many people in so many different fields. So always try to ask for more. You don't have to ask for an outrageous amount. Like, obviously, if someone's like, hey, can you make this 5-second video? I'm not going to be like, yeah, for $10,000 because well, for right now, that's not exactly realistic for me to be charging. Maybe one day. Not maybe. Definitely one day. I like to set the bar high. I like to shoot for the moon, you know? But be realistic about it. But don't be afraid to ask for more. Women are always told like, no, just play it small. Just shrink yourself. Don't ask for more. People try to brainwash us into not knowing our worth, but you should definitely ask for more, girl. And I know it might seem scary at first because you're not used to it because you've been conditioned to think that like you're being greedy for asking more, but you will be really surprised at what happens when you ask for more. Ask for that raise. Ask for that effing raise. If you needed a sign, this is your sign. Ask for it. Check your credit score. Girly, what is your credit score? Because I think a lot of people don't pay attention to this as much as they should. But if you have bad credit, it's going to really hurt you from doing so many things. Like you won't be able to even rent an apartment with bad credit. It's going to be hard. It's just going to make life so much harder for you. So make sure you're paying your bills on time. Make sure you're keeping an eye on your credit because it's really, really important. Speaking of credit cards, yes, they are a way that you can build credit if you pay them on time. But let's be real, credit cards are in business to make money. So when you don't pay on time, they make money. Then you go into debt. Like it's really, really easy for people to go into debt when it comes to credit cards. So just be really careful with credit cards. Like make sure you do so much research if you're going to decide to open one because it is not free money. I think a lot of people look at it like, yay, I can just buy whatever on this credit card. Free money. No. Oh God, no. That is what gets people into a deep hole of debt and it's really hard to get out of. So I personally would recommend against getting a credit card unless you really, really know how to use it and like you really, really know a lot about it. But Like I said, it can be a good way to build credit. Just use it at your own risk. Set financial goals. Setting financial goals is one of the biggest ways to make more money, because if you don't have goals, then you don't have anything to work towards. You don't really have anything motivating you. I just feel like you'd be really surprised at what you can accomplish when you set a goal. Like if I set a goal to make $10,000 as 1 month, I'm gonna work my ass off to try to hit that goal. And even if I don't hit it, it's like I'm still doing more and taking on more opportunities and pushing myself more to make more that month than I would have if I didn't set the goal at all. And it doesn't have to be make it a certain amount, a certain month. It could be just paying off your goals. It could be saving up for a vacation, saving up for a down payment on a house. Like there's so many different goals that you can make, but I just feel like having goals in any area of your life is gonna light your heart on fire. And there's a lot of dopamine that gets released when you achieve goals. So I'm a big fan of setting goals. Build an emergency fund. Life is crazy. You never know what's gonna happen. So always put away a little bit of money every month into an emergency fund. Trust me, you might think like, oh, I don't need to do that. Like I don't have the money to put away an emergency fund. Even if you just put $10, that's better than nothing, because like you just want to be prepared. You just want to be prepared, girl. The next thing is money saving apps. Now, I personally have not ever used one, but it's kind of like the new way of cutting coupons. Like that's what people used to do back in the day. They would cut out the coupons, but now apparently there's some apps that you can use to save money. This is not sponsored, by the way. I've never used these apps, but I would say use them at your own caution, with your own caution. Since I have not used them, I don't know from experience, but I kind of do want to try to use them. For example, there's this app called Fetch Rewards, and if you use it every time you buy groceries, you can get cash back on those groceries. And girl, I be spending a lot of money on groceries. So I think this is a reminder for me too. I'm probably going to try to use these apps and see what happens. But I'm going to look into them more first. I just wanted to throw that out there. You know, it's just an idea. Learn high paying skills. If you're in a career that is what people call like a dead end career and you're just capped, there's no possible way you can get promoted or make more in this career, I would definitely say change careers. Obviously, if you're doing something that you really love and you're fulfilled and you're happy, then hey, don't change. That's fine. Life isn't all about making money. But if it's more important to you to make more money and like you're not happy, just look up like high paying skills, because there's so many that you can learn, like editing, for example, or even DJing, just things that most people would not know how to do, things that not just anybody off the street could do. That's a great way to earn more money, of course. Sell your unwanted items on Facebook Marketplace. I actually have a pile of clothes in the corner of my room that I need to sell because I haven't worn these clothes in years, and I'm going to try to sell them on Facebook Marketplace. But you know, be careful. Be careful, because people out there can be a little sketchy. Make sure you have someone with you. Make sure you're being safe about it, you know. But it's just a great way to get rid of things that you don't use and like make a little bit of extra cash. Stop spending impulsively. If you see an item and you're like, oh, I really want this, but it's like, this jacket's $500. But F it, I'm just gonna do it. Who cares? And then you go home and you have buyer's remorse. Girly, if you see an item and you're like, oh, I want this, but you see the price tag and you're hesitant, just take some time to think about it. Like, take a few days. And if you really, really want it after a few days, then buy it. Then it's not impulsive. You've thought it through. Just be careful. Be careful, girl. Be careful. Avoid lifestyle inflation. For example, I for so long wanted a Tesla. Now I absolutely would never buy a fucking Tesla. But I already have a car that works just fine. If I would have bought that Tesla, that is a lifestyle inflation. I would have to pay off that Tesla every month. It's just like an unnecessary added expense to my life, and I don't need it. And like another example would be like a big house that you don't need. If you're one person, why do you need 6 bedrooms? Why? You don't. And that's just going to cost you way more extra money. So, yeah, avoid stuff like that. And my final tip is say no. Say no. Say no to more things, especially things that you don't want to do. Your friend's like, hey, let's go out and party. Let's buy all these drinks. Let's drop $100 on drinks tonight and $20 on this club fee and $50 on parking. Let's do it. And you don't want to. Say no. And hey, even if you do want to, it still might be better to say no. because that's just a lot of money that you're spending. It's okay every once in a while. Like, I am not against having fun. I think you should have fun in life, absolutely. But do you really need to be dropping $300 on a night out every weekend? Like, think about it. Think about how much money you could be saving if you said no more. If people are asking you to do things that are costing you money that you don't want to spend, it's okay to say no. It might be hard if you're a people pleaser, but it's just such a powerful thing to be able to say no, and people will respect you more for it. And you never know who you can be inspiring by saying no. Like, maybe your friend that's asking you to go out, of course they mean well, they just want to have a good time with you, but maybe they'll be like, wow, I'm really inspired by her focusing on her money goals and just her personal goals. I should do that too. You never know. And if people have a problem with you saying no and they can't respect your boundaries, then that's just a sign that maybe they're not true friends, right? So I hope this helped you girlies and femmes out there. Let's all get freaking rich, because we can, because we're powerful and we have the option to, and because money is power and money leads you to be able to live a more stress-free life. So let's get rich, bitch. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go watch the last episode if you haven't seen it, and I will see you girlies on the next one.